All right. Hey, everybody. If you can hear me, would you mind just dropping something in the chat just so I know that everything's coming across all right? Okay, so let's get started. Today we're going to be sketching and designing a hot rod. So the first thing I want to do is press my blue menu button, and I'm just going to set up my space here. So I like to have the world axes on, turn on vertical lock, mirror of course, because everything we do we want mirrored on the other side. And then I'm using a tethered headset, so I come up here to workspace, turn on my custom environment. I like to have HDR on. That allows me to see my reflections better whenever I'm making surface data. I like to keep my shadows on all the way, including floor shadow, angle the light a bit, and then turn on gradient as well. So right now I have blue sky tone, white horizon, and like an orangish floor. I'm going to make that white and then make the horizon a light blue as well. Okay, so after I have my workspace set up, I'm going to go to references here and find a new folder that I made here labeled Hotrod. And so I have a bunch of different images in here. I'm going to reach in with the grab sphere and pull these out. And we're going to use these images as like a base to design our own hot rod, but we're not going to follow these and build, this exact car right here. So next thing I want to do is anchor these images because I'm moving around my space and these images are staying in the same place. So I'm going to grab all of these images by expanding the grab sphere, and while I'm holding them, press that anchor button right there. So now when I scale and move around, they scale and move around with me. Okay, so let's make a mood board here and blow up some of the images that we like the most and scatter them around. Really like this one here with the dual wheels. This one has a nice grill, sort of hangs lower, and then I love this exoskeleton frame. So I want to replicate a bit of that as well. I'm going to take this side view though and plop that right there on the mirror plane and then group all these images. So I'll grab them all, press the purple menu button, and now they highlight purple. And you'll see that I don't need to blow the grab sphere up to this size to grab everything. Now it's a lot easier. I could just leave it at its default size and grab all those images together because they're grouped now. All right, so that looks pretty good. Right now I have my workspace set up. I have my images or my mood board off to the side, and then I have a side view that I'm going to reference here. So, oh yeah, also one thing I wanted to mention before going any further, if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comments there. I'm going to do my best to bounce back and forth between Gravity Sketch in the comments and even demonstrate some of the questions that you guys have live here. All right, so next, let's drop a mannequin in here. If we're going to design a hot rod, it would be good to design it at scale and have some people in it as well. So let's press the purple menu button, the blue menu button here. And right below references, let's go to prefab. And with prefab, we have two mannequins here, male and female, and we can reach and grab them and pull them out into the environment. And that's fine, but they're not at 1-to-1 scale right now. So if we were to export this to another program or something like VRED, and we wanted to view it and have our design in 1-to-1 scale with confidence, it wouldn't be. But we can make this 1-to-1 scale pretty easily. So let's grab the mannequins and drop them in this gray box here. You'll notice it changes to blue when you're holding geometry, and when you hold the geometry in the box, it turns green. So when it turns green, this is your cue to let go of the object. And now you'll see that I have a little thumbnail here showing me the placement of the object, and I can rotate the object. And if I look up here, it's previewed in the space. Now, it's not actually there. I can't grab that object, but it is highlighted. and it's previewed. So I'm going to rotate this guy around, press the blue check mark, and now I can grab and move him because he's been dropped in the space. So I'm going to pull him off to the side here, do the same thing with the female mannequin, rotate, blue check mark. Now I have them both in the space, and I'm going to start positioning them in a driver position. So let's put them in edit mode, grab the hip here, just really loosely pull around these arms. This guy's going to be in the passenger seat, and now we can move the legs around. One thing you'll notice about the mannequin is when you have these green dots on, they're great because they're nice and gestural, but there are certain limbs that they don't work that well with. So the legs is definitely one of the parts where the green dots don't work that well. And you'll see I'm trying to get the leg into the seated position. It's not going well. So instead, I'm going to flick right or left on the joystick up here. And you'll see as I'm flicking through, it's toggling between the green points, which is those really nice gestural points, and then these blue points, which allow me to adjust a specific part of the mannequin's anatomy without affecting everything else. So the blue points are better for the legs. And I'm just going to very quickly here position this guy's legs in a passenger position. And because it's a hot rod, let's lift these legs up a bit, right? There's not a whole lot of head clearance here. Another limb or another part of the body that doesn't work well with the green points is the head. You get all this funky action going on. So again, flick it to the right or left and use the blue points there. It's also great to position the fingers and some of the smaller joints on the mannequin. Okay, so that's decently positioned. Now let's do it with the female mannequin here, and for her, I'm going to put the hands down like this, and then expand my grabs here and grab both of the wrist points at the same time. And now I can position both of these arms together, which is kind of useful because she is going to be grabbing the steering wheel. So let's do this, and makes it a bit easier. A bit, not a lot. Still have to go in there and work around the joints a little more. All right. So that takes a little bit of time, but it's not that bad. All right, let's move them closer together here, just like that. And then change the color of them by grabbing and pressing the color wheel button right here, color menu button. And let's make them a light gray and then change the material to tune material. Okay, so now we know that the mannequins are at 1:1 scale. And we have our sketches. So the next thing we want to do is take our sketch and scale it to the same size as the mannequin, right? So let's blow our reference images up a little bit. Group these two together by holding them and pressing that purple tools menu button. And then use both of our grab triggers here to scale up the hot rod to the correct scale of the mannequins. I'm not going to worry about making this perfect because I'm not going to go any further with this design. At the most, I'll take this and export it, maybe drop it into Keyshot or Blender for a render. But I'm not going to be actually building this in real life, so scale isn't the most important thing to me right now. All right, so that looks pretty good. Generally the correct scale, both of our mannequins on either side. So the next thing I want to do is take this image here and lower the visibility on it so that I can see the other mannequin and I can start sketching a center line. And the best way to do that is actually to clean up our space a little bit here. So we have one layer. If I go to the Layers tab and you press the blue menu button, click Layers, and you have access to that. And I'll grab this menu and pull it out into the environment and start to sort things. So we have one layer, and if I adjust the visibility on this, you'll see that the visibility of all the objects are adjusted because everything we've created so far by default ends up on this layer. So we want to populate a few more layers in here, and we can do that by clicking the New Layer button. And then we want to sort these objects. So I'm going to leave the reference images as my first layer, so I'm not going to move them. I'm going to take this side view and hold it, and don't worry about moving it, because as soon as we hold it over this layer, it turns green, and then we let go. You can see that the side view sketches drop there, and I'll lock it. And then I'm going to grab the mannequins here and drop them on the third layer there and create one more layer for us to sketch on top of. So now I'm going to name these. So I'm going to click layer 1, call it refs, side view, peeps, and sketch. Okay, everything's sorted and locked, right? Because we don't want to move the reference images, we don't want to remove the side view, and we don't want to move our mannequins. So let's turn the visibility of the mannequins down as well. We don't need to focus on them right now. Actually, no, we'll leave it up. And we're going to make sure that this eyeglass here is on the correct layer. So we want it to be on the sketch layer because that's what we're going to start to put our data on. We're going to start the sketching part of the process. And you'll notice if I click it on a locked layer, so side view here, then we get this warning here, active layers locked. And that just means that your toggle here, your eyeglass, is on a layer that you can't put data on because it's locked. And that's okay because we don't want it on the side view layer anyways. So let's just click the sketch layer. Eyeglass is on it. Warning is gone. Now we can get rid of this panel. Let's grab it. And while we're holding it, press that red button to delete it from our space. And what that will do is then populate it back on your hand, on your left hand, so that it's where it started. Okay. So another thing I'm noticing here, and again, this is only for people with tethered headsets, is my shadows are on the ground there, and it's kind of annoying. So I'm going to go to Settings, Workspace, and turn the shadow type from floor shadows to just shadows on displaying on geometry. Great. So before we go into the sketching, I'm going to check the comments really quick and see if we have anything here. All right, V16, yeah, we can do that. Okay, so I can. Great. All right, let's carry on then. So I'm going to press the color wheel button here and press all the way in so that I get a solid black color, and then also change the material type here to flat. So that's going to give me a nice flat stroke line here. And now I can start loosely sketching what I want this design to be. So it might be best to start with a side view here. So to do that, let's press the purple tools menu and turn on planar. And now you'll see that my stylus isn't attached to my hand. And when I start sketching, it's placed flat on this plane right here. So in order to get this on the mirror plane so that we can sketch a side view, we'll place it by holding in this pointer finger trigger on the non-drawing hand. And you'll see I can place it anywhere freely and start sketching on a flat plane. But to get it to snap to mirror plane, we want to half hold this trigger and take the controller face and place it parallel to the axes or plane that we want to snap to. So here, parallel with Y, half hold, move it towards the mirror plane, and you'll see it just automatically snaps once you get close enough to the mirror plane. So now when I start sketching, I can sketch with confidence that it is stuck to the mirror plane. All right, so before I continue sketching the side view, right now if we were to look at this situation, I'm essentially standing in a room sketching on a wall, and it's not very comfortable. So what I want to do is press the blue menu button here, go to Settings, go to Sketching Aid, and toggle off Vertical Lock. And now I can rotate everything around freely and get this in a position so that it's more like I'm sketching on a drafting table. And so now I can come in here and start sketching this hot rod. So I just want a loose sketch of where the engine is going to be. I'm going to make a box there like that. And then a thick line here for where I want the suspension to be. Sort of indicate where I want the tires to be, the radiator, and then the headlamps. And the rest of it, I'm going to just loosely acknowledge where I want things to be with a nice quick sketch. And I think, you know, that's enough of a side view sketch for me to get started sketching in 3D. And so the next thing I'm going to do here is check my layers here. Okay, yeah. Take this sketch and now pull it out into, oops, sorry, I'm going to mark where I want this rear wheel to be too. Take the sketch and pull it out on X. So I'm going to expand my grab sphere, grab all those sketch lines, and I'm not worried about moving them because I'm holding them and I'm going to group them together. So while I'm holding them, press the purple menu button. And now I don't need to expand the grab sphere. I can just grab a certain part of the sketch and it selects everything. Okay. So to move it along X precisely, I'm going to stack my controllers like this and use Smart Move. So stack the controllers, rotate them so that they are parallel with the axes I want to move along. And I'm not pressing any buttons right now. Highlight the geometry that I want to move. And as soon as I have it stacked, parallel, and highlighting the geometry, you'll notice I get this line and it highlights in the color of the axes that I'm parallel with. So that's a good indicator that Smart Move is engaged. So once I have that, I'll hold the grab button and I can move things precisely along an axis. But I also want to keep that side view. So I want to engage Smart Move, duplicate the object, and then scooch it over. So now I'll hold, press the pointer finger trigger to duplicate, and then shift that out there like that. Okay, cool. So now just looking at volume, I have a really good idea of the general proportion from what we've done so far of what this hot rod will be. And now what I want to do is turn off planar and actually turn off this side view as well and start sketching the design that I want here. So I'm going to ungroup this here, shift some of these lines in, delete other lines that I don't need, and start designing. And you'll notice this, like, none of this data is really precious. I'm just taking curves that I made and grabbing them, moving them around. It's almost like kit bashing. And nothing I'm doing here is all that neat. I'm just trying to get a rough idea of what this thing is going to look like, and then I will start sketching to validate that idea. All right, so that's looking pretty good. And now I can just come in here and actually start sketching the design. And hot rods are pretty simple, and where at least for me, where I think they get their flair is in all the tiny details coming together. So I'm going to work to get the simple shape out as quickly as possible, and then leverage all the little detail parts to really bring it to life. Again, if you guys have any questions, just drop that in the chat. I'll take a look periodically, and hopefully I can answer everything. I'm not sure how typical my workflow is of most gravity sketchers, but this is my favorite part of the process, is loosely sketching the idea. Because you can make it quick and ugly here. Maybe we give this thing a useless truck bed that can't fit anything. I think what you'll also see is I don't have a defined sketching style or method here. Sometimes I'm just making really hairy lines like this. Other times I'm just duplicating objects and putting it into edit mode. And I'm just trying to like fill in the space essentially. Let's give these guys a rear window here, but nothing too big. All right, it's starting to come to life. Next thing I want to do is I want to roughen these tires. And I could just, indicate these by using sketch lines, and even some people ask if there's a way of making a perfect circle with a sketch line. And to tell you the truth, I don't think there is a way of making a perfect circle. But it's so easy to get going with the revolve tool here that I just use that anyways. I mean, actually, I know I've seen our community manager, Jaron, indicate a perfect circle by using the revolve tool and just giving it a touch like that, just making a small line, and then I think he'll like duplicate it out like this, and that seems to be a really good method. And in fact, let's try that out here. So we'll make some huge tires. Make the front ones skinny. Oh, those are too big. All right. And in fact, actually right now would be a really good time to understand where the floor is. So there's multiple ways that you can do this. If you want to make your own floor, you can use the revolve tool, lock the axes up like this, sketch something, put it into edit mode, and put thickness all the way up like that. And just like that, you have a quick made floor. Or if you don't want to do something so manual, you can press the blue menu button, go to settings, and turn on stage floor here. So I think we'll stick with that. And so we have the stage floor here, and we should probably move everything up a little bit. So I'm going to expand the grab sphere here, group everything together, and use Smart Move to shift that all up right about there. And then you'll notice the mannequins didn't move. That's because we have that layer locked. So let's unlock that and move these guys up as well. All right. And so now I can accurately, well, I want to ungroup this. Now I can accurately place these wheels. And I'll delete these back ones here and duplicate this back. Okay, I'm going to check questions now. All right, what do we have here? Smart Move for rotation, I can show you guys that in a second. Okay. Okay, all right. So really quickly, I'm just going to duplicate one of these objects out. So if we wanted to Smart Move with rotation, well, actually, let's just cover rotation as a whole. So I have these objects here. In this case, it's a mannequin. I can rotate along an axis by taking both my controllers, facing them together instead of on top of each other for Smart Move. Highlight, you get that same indicator with the line. And once you get that indicator, hold with the grab button and you can rotate like this. It's not very precise though. So instead what you can do is leverage the tool belt in this situation. So hold this grab button here, swipe across your body, and if you have tool belt enabled, you'll get the tool belt. Grab this precision tool right here and click the geometry you want to move, and then go left and right on your joystick to toggle between like moving like this, so precision moving like that, and then rotation as well. And this will tell you if you have contextual measurements on the exact amount that you're rotating, the exact amount that you're moving. And it's a great way of, if you need to be a little more precise, if you're at that part of the process where moving something an inch or a foot really matters, it's a great tool to use. Okay, so now that we have our loose sketch, what I'm going to do is indicate the motor here. So, or actually, you know what? Let's go through and build the wheels first, and then we can go through with some of those details. So, the first thing I want to do is open up my layers, and I have all of that great work done on that sketch there. That's going to be my loose sketch, and we're going to use that as reference. So let's turn the visibility down about halfway. Lock the people sketch, or we could just leave them, and create a new one here, and let's call this one wheels, and lock our loose sketch right there. And the next thing I'll do also is turn off stage floor, because sometimes I'm going to be viewing from down here, and I don't want the stage floor to get in the way visually. All right, so now we're going to use the revolve tool. So let's press the purple menu right there, select revolve, and close that. And now you can see I can just start loosely sketching revolve shapes in the space, and you can change the placement of the axes by holding in your pointer finger, and that will allow you to place it anywhere and change the placement very loosely. But we want to make sure that it's snapped on X, right? So let me just change the color so it's easier to see. To do that, we're going to half hold that trigger and rotate the face of our left-hand controller parallel to the axes we wish to snap to. So in this case, I want to snap to X. I'll half hold, point in the direction of X, and place it just like that. And so now I'm going to sketch my tires, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to sketch it very precisely, because what I like to do is get that loose shape down and then come in here and put it into edit mode, and then move all these points around and get exactly what I'm looking for. So just like that. All right, so we have the tire wall, and now I'm going to keep going and build out the rest of the tire as well. And what I like to do is change the color of different parts of the tire, so then it's really easy to keep track of the different parts that I'm building. So now I'm going to start building the rim. And you can always click in additional points like that and shift them around. And just like with all the tools in Gravity Sketch, Sketch is in the name, and it really lives throughout the product, because you can just loosely create a shape, go through and clean that up, and shape it out the way that you want it to be after the fact. But the sketching nature is definitely there. Okay, so now I want to group all this together, and we have dual wheels here, so I'll use Smart Move and duplicate that back so that we have two sets of wheels in the back. And I'll go a little further here. Let me change the color and give myself an axle. And I deleted all the points so that I just have 2 points to worry about, and that makes it easier to just have a nice straight axle back here. And then maybe I will do something like this. And add some funky shapes. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's grab everything, hold the color wheel button, and get a nice solid color on all of those shapes, and then duplicate out the tire for the front as well. Let's make it a little wider here. Ungroup it. Oops. Ungroup it like that. And make some adjustments to the data here as well. Cool. That looks pretty good. We have a wheelbase here, and that will work for what we're doing right now. Okay, so to make an engine, this is going to be a little more difficult. And I don't think I necessarily have a really good picture of an engine, so I might want to hop off here for a second and grab a picture of one so that we can do justice to it. Okay, but before we do that, let's also use the revolve tool and snap it to Z and make some quick headlights as well. So this is also a nice trick. You'll notice I made a little sliver of revolve right there, and I'm going to place it just like that, and then look at my graph here and drag this thickness slider all the way down, and now I have like a solid tube here, or a solid cylinder, I should say. And that could be leveraged to make really quick detail. All right, and let's do the internals here. And the cover here. Pop in some extra points and make sure that scale ourselves to the point where we can understand what that curvature is going to look like. Okay, cool. And now that we have that, I'm going to grab it, group it, shift it over, and scale it. Maybe 3 is too much, but we'll figure that out in a minute. And why not duplicate these and use them for the rear as well. Something like that. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, okay, so I think the next thing I want to do is get some of this action going on of this exoskeleton. And there's a few ways we can do this. And actually, they might work well together, now that I'm thinking about it. So let's create a new layer here and lock the wheels layer so that we're not moving any of that data around. And let's switch to the tool, the stroke tool. So purple tools menu, click stroke tool, and instead of leaving it on mixed input, which allows us to just freely sketch, let's add some more constraint to that and click point mode. And now that we have point mode, each time we click, we drop an edit point. And then to close it off, we press the pointer finger trigger on the left-hand controller. And this helps you get really nice, clean, exact lines. And in this case, the way I'm going to use it is, or the reason I'm using it, is because I can click and I can make a straight line. And let me change the color here. The reason I want that right now is because I want to roughly map out what these tubes are going to be doing. And then if we want more detail, we'll use that as an underlay for sub D, which will give us a nice clean frame for this thing. So let's start mapping out what this might look like. So I'm going to make some points here, duplicate that, move it over. In fact, do something like this. We're going to have some frame here. I think it's going to be for the leaf springs. And then, yeah, we're going to make some frame here for the truck bed. A lot of this is me just taking a point that I already made and duplicating it. It makes life easier. Maybe we could get a bit of an X frame going here. Put this into edit mode and start shifting some of these points around. And you'll notice I'm changing the shape of this by going left and right on the joystick. So if I want some thinner tubes to be placed right here, I can do that. Maybe we'll try and make this clear, that person's head. All right, that's already looking pretty cool. Okay, and so this is also really useful. We can turn on planar for the stroke tool as well, and now I can, with confidence, place this line here and know that it's true in y and x. Turn planar off, and let's actually duplicate this line out and use it for the front grille here as well. And then we can do some cool stuff where we have a bar for the engine bay, making it a little more rigid as well. In fact, let's lift that up a bit. Okay. There we go. That's too much. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's keep going here. Create some triangles. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys. Just let me know in the comments if I'm boring you with this structure stuff, and then we can move on. Oops, duplicate that out. Okay, so all right. And we'll do one more here. Just connecting that to this frame. So, not a structural engineer. All of this probably makes zero sense. But it looks cool. So, that's all that matters to me. Okay, so now that we have the structure done, what we can do is lock that layer, create a new one here. I know it seems like a lot of layers, but the organization really does help. And now what we're going to do is lower the opacity on that and do a nice clean line sketch of this loose sketch that we did before. And the reason we're going to do that is not just because it looks good, but we'll be able to use that curve data that we create and leverage it to make clean surfaces. So that's the reasoning for spending the time and making a clean line layer. So I'm going to make it nice and thin, so it's a clean line, and start dropping those in the space and shifting around these points. And before I go any further with this, I'm just going to check the questions real quick. See if anybody has requested anything. Yeah, so Calvin, I think that Oculus Link does come with, it doesn't come with Quest 2. You have to purchase it separately, but you can use the link cable on Quest 2. I just got my Quest Link to connect to my Quest 2, but it doesn't work. Yeah, I'm going to see if we could follow up with you on that. I'm not really sure how to solve that. So, Gemini using mannequin. It depends on how long ago you saw JAMA using the separate limbs feature if in Gravity Sketch. I know it used to just be a prefab that we dropped in and it wasn't rigged, so you would move the different parts of the limb around separately. But now we've rigged it together, so we don't have that functionality anymore. Or actually, I guess I should say we have more functionality now. So it's not just stagnant OBJ objects. Okay, cool. So let's keep going with surfacing. Oh, and now I want to move these points out in X and Z, but I can't because I used the planar tool here. But if we put that object in edit mode, we can turn off planar and then shift those points out in every direction. Okay, I'm going to turn off planar here because I just want to freely get the perimeter of the vehicle really quickly. All right, bring that in a bit. Leverage planar tool again. All right, and it also helps to quickly resketch that side view there. Just serves as a benchmark as a benchmark when you're surfacing. Let's duplicate that down. Just reuse some geometry. Okay, so I think this is enough right now for me to start surfacing. Just duplicate that out and lower it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to lock this layer because we need these curves in order to surface correctly. So let's press the purple tools menu here and select surface and press it twice so we get this menu. And now what I want to do, the first thing I want to do is switch it from simplified here all the way to sub D. Take the initial tension, drop it down so that we have no curvature, it's just a flat line. And then click Bridge Curves Beta And now what I can do, change the color, is use two curves that we've created to create surfaces between. So press and hold in the pointer finger. Press and hold the pointer finger on the left-hand controller. Highlight two lines that you want to create a surface between, and then press the pointer finger trigger and draw out that line. And so this is a really quick way of leveraging the curves that you've made to create a surface between them. And what I want to do here is just get the rough surfaces planted in here. And you'll notice none of them are connecting. And that's because we're actually going to use the power of sub D here to take all these separate surfaces that we placed in here and then connect them using sub D. So now let's take this surface. Well, actually, just to clean things up in the space, I'm going to go to Layers, turn down our sketch, and then take this surface that we just laid down and put it into edit mode. And one thing you'll notice is, of course, this is dependent on each surface, but we have a lot of data on this surface, right? And we don't necessarily need this many vertices and control points, right? So I'm going to come in here, grab certain vertices, delete them, and just clean up the amount of data that we have to work with here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I want the surface to connect over the mirror plane. So I'm going to grab this vertices here, use Smart Move, and shift it just a little bit, give it a little bit of a nudge. And now you'll see it's connected across the mirror plane. And I know that it's connected across the mirror plane because this icon has changed from a hollow dot to this key lock shape. And so that means it doesn't matter how much I move the next set of vertices, I'm going to have a continuous surface across the mirror plane. Okay, so now that this surface here is shaped up pretty nicely, we want to do the same with this surface here, and then we actually want to connect these two surfaces. So let's cover that first. So to connect these two surfaces, because they're both sub D surfaces, we can use the sub D tools setting or tool menu here. So double click what used to be the color wheel button, and you'll have this menu float up, and this is only for sub D surfaces and objects. Let's grab the mirror tool here, and actually to showcase this better, I'm going to change the color to two different surface colors. Grab the merge tool and click on the surface that I want to merge, and what you'll notice is it changes the color to changes the surface color to the same color. And now we can duplicate out our vertices here and connect those two surfaces. Now that probably wasn't the best way to connect those surfaces, so I'm going to press the red back button and drop in a row of edit points here. And actually I want to get some curvature on them, so I'm going to select auto loop and pull out some curvature and even push this up a bit and then turn it off. Duplicate that vertices out and connect it like that. Duplicate one out like this and connect it over there. And now this looks a bit better. And I'm also going to come in here and clean up some of this data as well. This is too many control points. So sub D is, there's a lot to sub D, and takes a lot of experimenting with to figure out exactly how to leverage it in your workflow, how to make really clean data, but it's really quick to work with, so you can figure out exactly how to leverage it. quickly. Okay, so now I'm realizing that I actually don't like that row of points. I'm going to come in here, select the whole row, delete it, and figure out how to surface this a bit better. So maybe I drop in a row like this. That doesn't look bad. And then we can do the same thing here. And it might help if we turn this surface to a material type and a color that lets us see these reflections better. So let's grab this, make it reflective, and we can make it a dark red or a dark blue. Let's do dark red. And it's much easier to see these reflections now. Come in here and spend some time massaging these surfaces. The other nice thing about sub-D is you don't need a continuous row of edit points around the geometry. We can actually come in here and delete individual vertices or part of an entire row of data. So I'm going to come in here and show you what I mean and delete some of this and end it right there, because I want this section of vertices to pull down on the surface and add that reflection where it leads up to the windscreen, but I don't want it to go all the way around. And what you can see there is it's still pretty clean data if I do that. Let's delete that. Okay, that's not bad. We'll stick with that. Okay, and now let's start surfacing the roof as well. So select the entire row here, give it a scooch so that it can connect across the mirror plane, clear out some of this useless data, and start merging these different surfaces together. So we'll use the merge tool here and start connecting these vertices. Yeah, see, this is really complicated here. So it helps to zoom in and see things a little clearer. But we can still make sense of it. And sometimes whenever you have things connecting across the mirror plane and you, let's say, merge a surface with it, you'll notice that because it's combining those two surfaces, it will disconnect it across the mirror plane. This is mildly annoying, but you can come in here, turn on auto edge loops, and just shift it again towards the mirror plane and it will connect again. So just be aware that that happens if you're performing certain operations like merging surfaces. I think I'll get rid of that and merge these two surfaces now. And again, you'll see that happens with mirror plane. Just give it a nudge. and duplicate out these surfaces. See, I had auto edge loops on there. A lot of times we get automotive designers asking about NURB surfaces, and they really want to use NURB surfaces because I guess that's what it is, what the industry is used to traditionally, is alias and doing things with NURB surfaces. And it makes sense if you're going to take your data and move it into alias and utilize that data in alias. But to be honest, and I think a lot of people are learning this from Blender, polygonal modeling is kind of the way to go. It's quick, it's easy, it's very flexible. And if you're designing something and you're not actually producing A-class surfacing, there's really no need to go through the headache of dealing with NURB surfacing. Having said all of that, though, if I create, well, actually, once I create this entire design, I can export it as an IGES and import it into Alias and still perform all of the projection and trimming and accessing the different CVs of the surfaces and curves. Because when you export something from Gravity Sketch as an IGES file, it automatically performs an operation where it converts all the data into IGES adjustable data. I don't know if that makes total sense. I probably could have said that better, but it does. The point I'm trying to get at is you can make your data in sub-D and still leverage alias to with all that functionality. All right, let's merge this surface here too. Clean out some of this data. For most of the tools in Gravity Sketch, we have an option in the edit menu called Simplified Points, which is really useful because it simplifies the amount of edit points that you have on a piece of data while trying to keep the intention of the original piece of data you created. So if you created a really nice sketch line and then you put it in edit mode and it's very complicated with edit points, you can click Simplify Points. It's going to try and keep the intention of that line, but optimize the amount of points. And unfortunately, we don't have anything like that for sub-D right now, but I could see that being a useful feature. All right, let's make that reflective. And actually, let's select from our colors below here and make that red. And okay, everything's connected across the mirror plane, so that looks good. Let's drag this surface down, drop in an extra edit point, and pull that surface out a bit. Okay, so that's some rough body surfacing there. And let's delete this line data that we made. And let's add some thickness to this surface here. So there's no direct button that says, add thickness to a surface with sub D, or even IGES in Gravity Sketch yet. But what we can do, sorry, I'm getting way too nitpicky here. Okay, what we can do is select auto edge loops like that. And now we're selecting this entire perimeter up here of the top of the surface. Grab it, press the pointer finger button, and then go in on the joystick. So left on the joystick, and scale that surface in. And then we can do that again and push down with Smart Move, and then drop in edge loops here to tighten up these radiuses, or tighten up the radius. And then we'll drop another one there. And then this is a bit of work, but what I like to do is duplicate the object up, duplicate it up one more time, put it into edit mode, and delete everything that I don't want to be the interior. So just go around. It's a bit tedious, but still pretty fast. I mean, it's only going to take about a minute. Okay, so now I have that inner part. Let's change that to like a tan material or something and make it toon material. And then do the same thing up here, inversed. So get rid of everything that I know I don't want to be the interior. So I'm just left with this external shell. Great. And then lower it down like this, using Smart Move so that I know it's moving exactly along that axis. And then maybe even stagger it a bit there so that it's pointing up a bit. And tighten the radius leading into it by dropping some edge loops. Oops. Okay. And it looks pretty good. I mean, it indicates the interior so far and only took a minute or two. And now I take that and move it down here. Unlock our peeps here, which I should have put another E for. And put his arm up on the body of the hot rod like that. So he's hanging out the window. And we can do this for the roof as well, but I think some people probably want to see what we can do to indicate the engine there, which I'm about to do right now. Okay, so one other thing is we have two curves here, and as you can see from me duplicating it out like this, that it's the same curve. So if we put it in edit mode, same amount of edit points on both curves. And when you have a situation like this where you have the same curve duplicated, same amount of edit points, and you want to span a surface between the two, you can use bridge curves like we were doing before and drag it along the entire duration of the curve. Or you can come back in here to the edit panel, the menu for surface, and toggle on this option here, full curve. And if I toggle on full curve and I select these two curves and press the pointer finger trigger, it will automatically span a surface the entire distance of the curves here. So it's a quick way of banging out some surfaces if you already have the curve data to do so. All right, so let's check questions here. All right. Yeah, Boolean features is definitely something that people have a lot of questions about. And to tell you the truth, we would love to add Boolean, except for it's a really heavy mathematical operation to carry out. And right now it's kind of a miracle that Gravity Sketch even works on a wireless headset. And so it is something that we're always looking into. But right now it's probably not going to be a feature that we incorporate, just due to the intensity of the math and the fact that a Quest is basically running on cell phone hardware. All right, let's move some of these frame points to the interior here, like so. We can have some bleeding through the interior like that. And then let's lock the data that we just made. So that's surface data there. And I want to change this frame to be gray as well. So we'll select it like that. And oops. Okay. Unlock our surface data. So now we're back on the surface data here. And let's start indicating the engine. And to tell you the truth, I don't want to hop off and get a picture from the internet, so I'm going to do my best here to build an image, an engine. No, I am going to do it because I'm not going to do it well. Okay, let's do Hotrod engine. And I should have a picture to go by. Ah, okay, that's a pretty good one. Yep, so let's save that image. And I'm going to get one more. Yeah, that one's pretty cool too. But I need to look for a side view because that's just going to make things so much easier. All right, that should do the job. Oh man, these are really crazy. All right, bear with me, guys. Okay. So I should have images now. Let's refresh, and now we have some images that we grabbed off of Google. I can blow these up, and oh, well, obviously that's facing the wrong way. All right, if you guys want to correct me in the comments, you can drop something in there, and hopefully I see it in time. But if not, I'm going to just indicate this. We're not going to actually build this engine. Okay, so let's create a new layer here. This is obviously our surface data. And lock it. This new one's going to be the engine and the engine image. And this one's going to be the engine sketch. So let's grab the side view here, drop it on that layer, layer 2. Let's go half opacity on, or near half visibility there, and lock it, and lock everything else as well. And now start to indicate this. So if we look at the shape up there, okay, so for a lot of this, what we're going to be using is the volume tool. And when you first use the volume tool, it's really great, but not very exact and not very precise. But if we use the volume tool and turn on planar, then we can sketch with it on a flat plane and extrude out shapes. So that's what I'm going to use here. And first thing I'm going to do is try and get the profile of it. And do this with a general shape. And then go into edit mode and tighten things up a bit. All right. All right, and extrude that shape out. Yeah, so extrude that shape out. And make another shape up here. And here's that simplified points tool I was talking about. It's very helpful if you have too much data. You want to clean things up. And let's pull this shape out. And then let's duplicate it out as well. And add a bit of a curve on it. So we can use the graph there to get different shapes. So let's do that. And then duplicate it back. Oops. Like that. And that's already a good start. Or at least I think it is. All right, yeah. And yeah, so let's keep going here. Create some belt housings. Yeah. Okay, yep. And then let's also just create a shape here. And so this is going to be where the exhaust pipes are going to come out from the engine bay. And so all this is just like the revolve tool, basically. Revolve tool and oh, yeah, I need to see this image here, so I'm just going to move that. We're past the side view part of things and onto grander things. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's duplicate that out. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then let's take the stroke tool and leverage that here as well. Turn off planar, make it a different color so I can see. And okay, so when you start sketching with stroke tool, of course, you're going to have these rounded edges. If you want to turn those off, grab it, put it into edit mode, and you'll see an option here called end caps. You toggle that on and off, and you can get these nice flat shapes going. So let's just draw out the exhaust. I don't know where this should go. I mean, I guess I should go underneath the car, to the side maybe. I don't think we want it to go beneath the leaf there. All right, we'll figure out where that goes later. Okay, so you see how you get this like ugliness going on in the data here with the stroke tool? When you get that, flick to the left or right, and you'll get these arrows. And so these are going to position the norm there. And so now you'll see if I have them all facing in the same direction, it's nice and clean now. We don't have that problem anymore. All right. All right, and because I'm just pretending that I know what's going on with this sketch, we're just going to cheat a little bit here and create some housing for this all to go in. That's too complicated. I'll just do it up here. And yeah, all right, great. Take that, group it, shrink it down, put it over top of these. And make them look like they make sense. All right, let's group that all together, change it to gray. It's something to work with. We can continue this out in a single pipe later. And then, right now we might as well utilize the data that we already made. And let's turn point mode off and have mixed input on. And draw some lines up here. I don't know. I think those are spark plugs. It's pretty good. Let's what should we do next? Well, let's see if we have any questions in the comments. Reset rotation feature. That would be interesting. What do you mean by reset rotation? Control point. Yeah, okay, so somebody had a question on surface thickness. We did that a bit earlier. There's no There's no great way to get surface thickness, like if you were to apply a modifier in Blender or something like that. But with sub D, it's pretty easy to, well, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's possible to create thickness by connecting surfaces. And as long as you don't have any holes in your surface data, you can 3D print. And actually, we have a few examples of that from users already. All right. So let's keep going with this. Okay, so for this top part here, the air vent, I'm not going to use that sketch anymore. This one up here, air intake, we're going to use the planar tool. No, we're going to use sub D. So let's go to primitives here, subdivision. And now it will as soon as you turn on subdivision, it will take some of the primitives you had access to and gray them out and only show you the prefabs that you have subdivision capability with. So we're going to use a cube here, and we're going to place it, here. But what you'll notice is it's kind of tough to get it exactly where you want the sub D cube to be centered. So to make this easier, we're going to press settings, grid, and grid's going to let us place that on center line a lot easier. And then we're going to turn grid off, and now we can work with this sub D data. All right, so let's turn on subdivision so that we have smoothing and click in some edit points here. And we want a tighter radius here, so I'm going to click one in there and one in right there. Lower this, duplicate it, and select the edge loop here. Start making shapes. And that's a pretty decent indication of the air filter there. You can always add on to it. And now I'm going to go back to this surface data here and build out a little more of the grill here. So let's duplicate that in. Take these vertices and drag them into the center. And make sure we have a nice closed model there. And let me get rid of this. Well, actually, I might want to keep this, so let's just scooch it back. And let's do the same thing in the rear here. And let's connect the bottom. All right, cool. So now we have that shape, but it looks really doughy. And all we need to do is drop in some extra edge loops here. And if you half hold, you can like preview where that edge loop is going to be and slide it along like that. And then when you fully press it in, you'll actually drop the edge loop there. And of course, we want an edge loop down here as well. Okay, shift that up a bit, just a tiny bit. And the reason I kept this curve that we made is because we can duplicate it out, put it into edit mode, and mess around with the material or the shape graph here and just get a little bit of added detail. So it's sort of like a bevel. A lot of functionality with the stroke tool. All right, yeah, that's not bad. Let's add some random wires. And even create maybe a bracket for these lamps to hang from. Yeah, planer tool also comes in really handy if you're doing things like this, where you just want to make quick detail parts. Maybe you need a hinge for something, or a bracket, or something like that. Just comes in handy to make a shape. And again, if it's a design that you want to go further with and you don't think that you can build the data out to support that design fully in Gravity Sketch, it's great to export and move into your other software of choice. All right. Okay, so I was gonna make like a organically shaped frame here in the back using sub D, but I think what we have here is fine. And what we want to do here is just make sure that it's a little cleaner. So we can take these individual strokes that we made, turn snap on, and start connecting them to each other so that it makes it just a little bit neater. Cool. All right. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's take a look at some of these Hotrod references. Yeah, these things are so cool. All right, we can use the surface tool back here to snap in surface for the rear part. So here, let's demonstrate this. I'm trying to create a surface between these two curves right here, but they're mirrored curves. And if I wanted to create a surface between them across the mirror plane, I can put them into edit mode and then click Bake Mirror. And now they are two separate curves. And so I can use full bridge curve surfaces in between them. So that's what I'm going to do here. Bake them, bridge curves beta between them, and I can populate a surface there. I'm going to do the same thing down here. It's not exactly great practice to do, because if you want to adjust anything and you want it to be, created across the mirror plane, that won't necessarily be an option anymore. All right, let's use the volume tool here with planar on to create some sort of I guess it would be a firewall. And let's turn off snap because that gets really complicated. And let's drag that surface out like that. And let's take this and make this into a leaf spring. So it's, again, just a simple stroke tool, but we can change it to square and change the profile of this thing. Add an edit point right there so that it has some flex to it. And then we can duplicate that down so that we have 3 leaf springs. Oh, maybe we have more than 3. Okay, there we go. And might as well finish off the exhaust here as well. Could have it blowing straight into that guy's face, or we could take it up the side of the vehicle like that. And you can change the size of each one of these edit points by going left and right on your joystick. And you can adjust the weight of that NURB by going up and down with your joystick. right. Okay, let's see if we have any more questions. Right. If you move an object slightly by mistake, we want to reset it to 0 rotation so that it's flat with the ground, for instance. Okay, so that's a good question. There is no way right now of, let's say, going back and resetting something, but how about this might answer your question. So let's say I'm making a wheel and I'm sketching out that wheel like this, and then I accidentally move my axes. And so now I'm like, oh, darn it, I can't finish this wheel, and I really wanted to add the rim to this, right? Because I have the tire part finished. Well, you can try all day to get it exact, right, like that. Or what you can do is highlight it, half hold the pointer finger trigger to reset the axes, and once you highlighted the object that you want to snap to and you've half held it, you should see these red arrows in the center. And now if I move that axis close, it will reset to the same axis position of this data. So now I can make those mistakes, but then always snap back to it and correctly continue building on that tire. So that might not be exactly what you were looking for there, but it's somewhat of a workaround that we have right now. Okay, so let's I got an idea. Let's complete the bottom of this. So I'm going to duplicate this down. Oops. Move the surface in. Like so. Delete the top part. And move that back up. And we might as well connect it across the bottom here so that our peeps' feet aren't dragging. And we can also connect it like this. Okay, cool. So now we have a floor as well. We have our interior that we did before. Sorry. Gonna zoom in. And we can go in further detail here, building the seats and doing all sorts of things. But I think what I want to do now is unlock everything and add some coloring to the tires here. And ungroup everything as well. We'll make that reflective. Oh, something else kind of cool is, like, if we wanted to make a grill, but we didn't want to model it out, and we wanted a mesh look, I guess. So actually, maybe we'll make an access or a accent piece here. So this is a NURB surface, by the way. This is not sub D. It won't work with sub D. So let's just like fill in. Yeah, so it's like some kind of angular cover. And we wanted this to be a perforated mesh. We can go to reference images, and I'm already in the Hotrod folder, so I'm going to go out to the, the main folder, and toggle through and find the folder that I created called materials. There we go. And so this is a PNG that I grabbed just off of Google Images, and it's a PNG and it's perforated, right? So we can see right through it, which is kind of cool. And we can take this, and now that it's in our environment, it is technically an image and a shader. And so if we change the color of this surface, we'll see that it's an option here. And so we can select that, and now we have this like perforated texture. It's not a real feature, it's kind of a workaround, but hey, it's enough to get an idea out there, so works for that purpose. Yeah, and it looks kind of cool. We can change it to black even, and yeah, it's just added detail. I mean, I think it works nicely, and yeah. So now that we have this base level of detail in here, I mean, it is so easy in Gravity Sketch to take the tubes that we've already created and the small details that we've already created, and then just duplicate them out like this. Duplicate them in like that, I should say. And, just get this whole extra level of detail from duplicating objects that you already have. Super easy to do. Adds a lot of effect to things. So, yeah, that's wondering if that's where we should cut the demo. I'm going to check the time here, and I just duplicated it out as well, because anything I create, I kind of like to just turn to a single color and get this monolithic look at the data that we created. Okay, so before we go, the last thing I'm going to do is add thickness to this roof here. So let's duplicate that up. This is going to be kind of a pain, to be honest. Yeah, okay, so let's duplicate it up. Let's put it in edit mode. Let's turn edge loops on, and hopefully, yes, it's just grabbing those edge loops. Let's duplicate this in about 1 inch. And let's duplicate this one in 1 inch. And let's also lower it. And let's do the same for the back glass here as well. Duplicate that in. Great. And now that we have that, we can tighten up the radius here by adding some edge loops. And we can do that on all of the sides that we duplicated down. And yeah, so we have that thickness there. Man, it's going to be a lot of work to add thickness for this. I think that's where I'm going to leave it, actually. enough of an indicator of material thickness for now. But yeah, if material thickness is something that's super important to you, and you're a Blender user, it's really easy to take a thin surface that you've dialed in a Gravity Sketch and you have the way that you like, and then import it into Blender and put a surface thickness modifier on it. And that's a really, really great, really quick way of getting more detail. I like this model, and I think I'm going to go more in depth with this and continue building on it and maybe do some renders. So be sure to check out our Instagram. Yeah, we should have some pictures posted there relatively soon. And yeah, if you guys have any comments on the video, things that you want to see in the future, more material that you would like us to make to show you how to do different things, drop it in the comments. Please like, share this video with some friends that are interested in Gravity Sketch or have never even heard of Gravity Sketch, and subscribe as well, because we're doing these weeklies every week. We're trying to get them out, and we're always dropping new content out as well. So thanks, everybody.